conspiratorially to Sarah. "Besides, it's a free dinner." Sarah laughed, but she silently prayed, for Southwind's sake, everything wasn't that good. Unfortunately, she'd heard the same thing about Riley's food from the grapevine. Her mother. Even though her mother lived 15 minutes away in Birmingham, she always seemed to know everything going on in Wheaton, Alabama, before Sarah did. Sarah had originally planned to let Emily and Marcus attend the grand opening alone, but when her mother reported the over-the-top praise she'd heard about Riley's dishes, Sarah's curiosity won out. The moment she'd walked into Jane's place, her feelings had completely changed. The desire to taste Riley's food was gone. Instead, she wished she could go back out the front door, cross Main Street, and walk down the driveway beside the big house where the new Southwind was, until she reached the carriage house behind it. Sarah owned the big house, but the carriage house where she lived was where she felt comfortable and safe. Playing at home with RahRah would be a lot more fun than making small talk, or having to congratulate Jane if the food really was as good as everyone said. Thinking of how RahRah, her alpha cat, was probably exerting control throughout the carriage house over Fluffy, Sarah's recently adopted dog, made her smile. It also reminded her she needed to make a vaccination appointment for Fluffy with either Dr. Tanya or Dr. Vera. Sarah had been so busy accidentally finding herself in the midst of a flurry of murders in Wheaton that taking Fluffy to the vet had completely slipped her mind. With their clinic located in the remodeled house next door to Jane's place, she had no excuse for not running Fluffy by for her shot. "Hate to interrupt your checked-out moment, but you need to move up," a voice behind Sarah said. Flustered at being caught daydreaming, Sarah muttered, "Sorry." She glanced over her shoulder while she closed the gap in the line. Her friend Jacob Hightower grinned at her with a smile that not only sat on his lips, but reached his blue eyes. Having not seen much of him since the fire that temporarily put his job as a line cook at the original Southwind Strip Center location on hold, she was glad to run into him tonight. "I didn't see you get in line." "You were zoned out." He glanced around the room. "Phew, Jane's got some crowd. I bet most of Wheaton is here tonight." Sarah frowned. "You might be right. People always like to try the new place in town, especially when they can do it for free." "That's true. My shift at the Southwind pub was dead tonight. I was somewhat surprised when I ran into Emily and Marcus eating in the other room, but considering your history with Jane, this is the last place I expected to see you." Shoving her hands into her pockets, Sarah whispered a sheepish confession. "Call it self-protection. Emily, Marcus, and I came to try out our competitor's food. We've heard some of Jane's menu items are out of this world." "Jane's food is no different than ever. Fine, but nothing special. It's Riley's dishes that are delicious." "That's what I heard. But vegan dishes?" Sarah didn't notice how loud her voice was until the person behind Jacob shot her a dirty look. Her attempt at apologizing drew stares from more people, until she realized she was standing in front of the plates, and they wanted her to get on with making her selections. She took 2 clear plastic plates from the pile at the end of the table and handed one to Jacob. As she served herself, she realized another reason the line was moving so slowly. Riley Miller stood at the midpoint of the long buffet table, explaining to each group of guests what they were about to taste. Sarah couldn't help but stare at her. Riley's ease and sense of assurance reminded her of how Emily effortlessly worked crowds when she did food demonstrations. Watching the way Riley's blonde ponytail bobbed and how she accentuated her words with her ever-moving hands, there was something about Riley that made Sarah think the young chef might fly away at any moment. It wasn't that Riley resembled a butterfly, but she radiated more of a sprite vibe. That was it. She reminded Sarah of Tinker Bell, the fairy in Peter Pan. Clad in a short green chiffon dress, Riley was small, athletic, and had an engaging smile. Sarah presumed Riley was quite the salesperson from the amount of food Doctors Tanya and Vera had piled on their plates while Sarah was daydreaming. As she reached Riley's part of the buffet table, Sarah, having heard and observed Emily in action, wondered how similar Riley's patter was. "Hi, I'm Riley Miller." "Sarah Blair." "Oh, I know who you are." Sarah cringed. She knew something like, "You're the one who helped solve that murder recently," was probably coming. "You're Chef Emily's sister. You know my friend Grace, Chef Emily's sous chef? She raves about Emily." So much for letting her little bit of success unraveling a few murders go to her head. At least Sarah agreed with Grace.